Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, where we empower business owners and emerging leaders to design a life they don't go to hate without sacrificing their health, relationships, or faith. We do that through accountability, support, guidance, clarity, and real community. Today's guest is a living example of what relentless faith, grit, and growth look like. Ray Aguilar is a Texas-based serial entrepreneur who went from sandwich artist to owning multiple thriving businesses, including a CBD dispensary, smoothie shop, cell phone repair store, and vending machine network. His mission? To inspire others to trust God, own their lives, and chase greatness, which is a no excuse mindset.
That's right.
You're going to want to lean in on this one. Ray, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely. Well, dude, let's start here. I always love asking entrepreneurs and business owners like yourself to take us back. Like, let's peel back the layers a little bit. How did your entrepreneur journey begin? And what was that turning point when you knew you were built for something more?
Right. So I think it started when I was younger. Honestly, parents didn't have much growing up. And I knew if I needed or I wanted something, right? If I wanted the fat farms back in 2005, I had to get a job or figure it out myself. So it started there. I followed the traditional route after I graduation. Went to college, tried to get some jobs here and there, but it was just not fulfilling for me. It would always be, I was like, work my way up to like a manager. And I was like, okay, what's next? Like, I'm here. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's it for us. I was like, okay, let me go try something else. I went to school to get my associates, and then I got another job. And I was like, I like it. I like trying new things. I started traveling, and I was like, it's not fulfilling. I need something else. I need something where there's no limit to me. There's no limit. So that's how it started, man. I started with small things. I think my first one that I always tell people is, the company Avon, like makeup company. So I started there. I got opportunity that I can sell and make extra money. And it's something that like was on my hands. So if I made money, it was my fault. And if I didn't make money, it would be my fault also. So I started there. I started selling makeup. I was a sandwich artist. I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm making money while I'm getting my regular paycheck. And then I just started there. And, I went through that whole tunnel of like pressure washing and like all these other things that people still see nowadays. And I started that way.
That's awesome. And this is perfectly aligned with you being a Conroe graduate here locally in Montgomery County. You're also a husband, a dad, and a serial entrepreneur. How has those roots shaped who you are and how you lead today in your business?
I think it shapes a lot. So I'm originally from like the Houston area, the Greenspoint area. I came over here in my 9th grade when I started Conroe High School. So it was a big change for me. And at that time, Conroe was not what it is now. It was a lot smaller. That was like 2003. It was a lot smaller. But yeah, I think the big change helped me a lot. Being here, being more smaller instead of being in a big city, helped me a lot. It helped me, help my mindset a lot more to like get out of that trouble-ish kind of like area. So now, and I always, thank my mom. I'm like, man, if I would have stayed in Greenspoint, who knows which way I would have gone, But yeah, it was fun here. The fact that I'm local also helped me like kind of see what was needed in the city or where I could fit in, where I can start certain side businesses or businesses and go from there, man. And then also, since I'm from Conroe, I know a lot of people in the area. So that's also helped us with some of the businesses where people come and support us because it's me and because I'm local.
Yeah, I love that, man. Well, it's funny. It's interesting because I went to Conroe High School too. I graduated in 05.
Okay.
So it shows my age there, but our 20-year reunion is coming up.
07 here. So yeah.
07. So you're right around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, you own multiple businesses, and I've also been the entrepreneur that has had that mindset of I got really bored in my early entrepreneur journey of building my insurance company, and I've already shared my story on that, and I've kind of went squirrel, and I went off and built another business, and I've got my own story on that. But I'm curious with you owning multiple businesses, that's Melting Pot, Dispensary, Longhorn, Phone Repair. You also host a podcast too. I didn't even mention that in the intro. What would you say has been the most challenging part of balancing all that, man?
So that's kind of where I'm in the middle of right now. Like we spoke about, is it's figuring that out. Where it was like we talked about it. Sometimes we hear like, oh, you need multiple streams of income, right? So like you need a little bit here, a little bit there, and that equals this lump sum, and now you're good. So I think it started with, to be honest with you, it started with me where the money I needed and I wanted the money. As I grew, I quickly learned that money was not everything. I quickly learned that, you know, a few extra thousand a week or, you know, less wasn't going to change our lifestyle that much.
Yes.
So I started shifting and saying, opening things that we wanted to open, instead of things that I needed to open, right? So like the first time when I opened the dispensary, I don't smoke, I don't vape or any of that, right? So a lot of times people that knew me were like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even know how to use these things, you know? And I was like, I don't, you know, I don't, but I
Yeah.
knew the numbers. I played with the numbers. I knew it was, you know, an up and coming thing. So I started that way. But from there, now it's become where a lot of the things that I wanted to do when I was younger is what I'm doing now. So what does that mean? As far as like when I was younger, I was like, I want to have a vending machine. I've seen this thing. So now I have some of these businesses where it's like, it's because I want to have them, not really because I need to have them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of, I need to start to get a little bit back to like one or two and really focus on them instead of focusing on five different things like we talked about. So I'm
Yes.
in the middle of figuring that part out right now.
Man, that what you just shared right there is, I think, what a lot of our listeners and viewers and audience are going through is, you know what? I've been doing this business for 2-3 years. I want to get into real estate. I want to get into a landscape company. I want to open up. I want to do this. I want to do that, because we get bored in these
Right.
endeavors. And what I have learned, because I did that in my same journey when I opened up the insurance company in 2015, which was about a little over about 10 years ago. About 5 years in, I hit this wall and I was like, all right, well, the insurance company, I've hit all my goals, man.
Right.
I've done everything that I wanted to do, which is I wanted my business to pay for my lifestyle. Well, I had got to that dream and hit that goal. So I was like, well, now what?
Right.
Well, as you know, if you keep chasing the money, if you keep chasing the accolades, keep chasing the cars and the houses, the older you get, the more miserable it gets,
Right.
because it's just not sustainable. Like you said, you can be a multimillionaire, you can be a decamillionaire. The more money you make, it's just going to be more problems, more challenges. And if that's the only thing that you're focused on, it leads to, in my experience, misery and burnout.
Right.
So I didn't find this out until I started a landscape company about 5 years into my insurance company. And 3 years into the 6-digit landscape company, I realized, I was like, what am I doing? And sure, I had cash flow, I had money pouring in, and I was just grinding 24/7. But then, dude, I hit this wall in 2021, and I've shared my story on other podcasts, but I resonate exactly with what you're saying. And I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs get to that standpoint. And from my experience, it's right around that 20s, that upper 20s, and that 30-year-old range, that 32, 33,
Right.
and even mid 30s range, where we're like, well, hold on here. We need to slow down to go fast. Why are we doing these things? And that's what I'm hearing you say is,
Correct.
why do I have 15 different businesses? Well,
Right.
it's because I was told to get multiple streams of income. I was told the same thing.
Right. Right.
But we both know that at the end of the day, you can have 15 multiple streams of income, but they ain't making a lot of money.
Right.
Because where focus goes, energy flows. So what I'm also hearing you say is, let me find out what it is aligned with what it is that I want to do that allows me to come alive. And that's typically one or two things. Get that well oiled, and then you can expand once you get that running itself, is what I'm hearing you say.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And I think another thing, some books that I'm reading and some other thing is, I think I'm starting to see that I'm probably more of the person that likes to build the business, build it, get it up and running, and then it's time
Yes.
to move on. So I think that's where I'm at, because, even with the phone store now that I'm building it, I'm excited right now. I'm excited. I'm
Yes.
getting the store flowing. The smoothie shop business is on its own now. So I think I forgot what was the terminology for that, but it's fine to like start up a business 2-3 years, sell it, and then you buy another business, fix it up, work on it, and then you go from there. So I think that's the way I'm gonna shift, because it's funny you said that about real estate, because I was also like, well, I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna get real estate, and then I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna get into the service business, and then it's like, no, we gotta narrow it down some. So yeah.
I agree with you, because here's the thing. You can get off into real estate. You can get off into phone repair and all podcast, as you know, because you've done all these things just like we both have. But at the end of the day, there's another guy out there. There's another woman out there that's all they're focused on is podcast, or all they're focused on is running that phone repair company, or the melting pot, or the dispensary. And because they're so obsessed with running that business, they dominate the industry and take all your customers.
Correct.
Because we've spread ourselves too thin. And I found out the hard way and made a huge mistake. Now I'm like, dude, I'm going to focus on one thing, get that well oiled to where and then here's the key ingredient. What I've learned, I have learned that you want to make sure that you build not only yourself, your leadership, but also you need a owner operator within that business before you remove yourself.
Correct.
It took me years to learn that. I wish somebody would have slapped me in the face and punched me in the mouth to tell me that. I had to learn the lesson the hard way.
Right.
So now it's like finding that owner operator, AKA leader, right-hand man that can run the ship for you, is what I've learned. And so that kind of leads me into, I'm curious with you, man, what principles or systems have helped you scale without burning out? Like, I know you're kind of in the trenches right now, you're rolling up your sleeves, but any principles or systems that have helped you scale to these multiple businesses without you burning out currently?
I don't think I'm in the burnout phase yet. I think, like you said, the important part was that finding someone that could be as close to a second Ray as that could be. And I've been blessed that I do have somebody for that, for the dispensaries. So she takes care of most of that stuff for that. And it's like you said, now it's like figuring that out for the smoothie shop. So we're trying to find somebody that can do that so that my wife can pull out of that and then go into something else. I think the biggest thing for me, man, is I'm just a go person. Like, I know a lot of people say that, but I feel like I can go all day. But if you put a pillow right here on the floor for me, I'm out. I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna go to sleep real quick. But I think it's just having those goals and those ideas that I want to have, that I want to continue to grow, that I want to continue to help people. And I think I've shifted to more of giving more of my time and some of my knowledge to people that are coming up. Because like you said, I wish somebody would have told me that when I was starting up. But also I see the other side of it. I was like, but would I have listened? Would I have listened at 25 to say like, hey, just stick to one, and like, this guy, you're successful, but I have other goals, But I think just the next big thing is what motivates me. The next big thing. So I'm still full throttle on that.
I agree with you because I've talked about this on another podcast, and I was actually a guest on another podcast, and that's what we had really dove deep on because I had asked that question. I was like, do you think that if you're talking to your younger version of yourself, you would have actually listened to somebody that gave you the blueprint? And reflecting back on that answer, I'd have been like, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
I believe that we all have to go through the pain cave. Yeah. And this could be in any area of life, spirituality, health, business. You have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, being the cog in the wheel, the rat race where you're like, you know what? I'm not giving up, but I need to reach out for help. I need to reach out for counsel. And I think that is the wisdom. That's the play. And if you can do that earlier versus later, then man, you're going to be dominating where it is. I mean, think about some of the people that are in the mastermind group, the level up in the mastermind group, 18, 19. Could you imagine being in a group like that at 18?
Nah, I probably wouldn't have. Yeah. Like I saw that post you made of him, and I would have probably been like, nah, I don't believe you. And funny story real quick. When we started the smoothie shop, right? So I'm far from a full professional, but I would tell my wife like, hey, we got to work on this. Marketing, we need emails, we need to, keep up with the customers, this and that. And she's like, no, what? No. Hey, you should do this, build a recipe for your employees. What? No. So I learned just like, like you just said, you kind of have to go through it. So as much as I wanted to give her the advice, like, hey, this is how you should do it. I've been in the food industry. Let's build system. Let's build that. She's like, what? No. But now, unfortunately, I mean, I didn't let her fall, right? But she was like, kind of almost falling. And she's like, hey, how do you build the system? I was like, okay, here we go. Let's go. But, 3 years ago when we opened the smoothie shop, it was like not listening to me, even though, I am the leader of the household and she gives me the backing of a business owner. But I was like, hey, I can't push it on her. I need her to learn it on her own, learn it, go through it with the customers. Like, I'll be like, hey, when a customer comes in, this and that. And then she would come to the house and be like, man, this customer gave me a hard time. And I kind of thought about what you said, but now that I felt it and now that I saw them upset, I was able to move on it. So yeah. Even here, us being married 6 years now, it's like through business, it's like she had to go through it on her own to see where she's at now.
And that's brilliant advice, man. And just for our listeners and audience and viewers as well, just listening to that, it's not just applicable to our marriage, but also business partnership, our team, our right-hand man, friends, and even our family. And what you have just shared right there is just you being the coach, because we think we have all the answers. That's what our entrepreneur mindset. We take full ownership. We want to help solve the problem for everybody. But we both know it's all about timing. It's all about asking the right questions. It's all about giving that patience. And it's hard to do. I'm talking my old version of myself right now. So now I very intentional. I sit back and I try to ask very quality, intentional questions. And then, like you said, at the end of the day, you have to roll up that sleeves. That person has to go through that experience. Correct. It's almost like a sink or swim. Like you can train people all day long, but at the end of the day, until they actually experience it themselves, like your wife did,
right.
they don't get the full experience. And that's typically having that hands-on experience is where you're like, oh, I see this perspective now.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's almost the same thing. I have a 16-year-old, and same thing with him, right? When I was 16, I was out there in the sun, so I try to tell him like, hey, this and this, but I'm like, okay, he has to go through the same thing. He has to go through a little bit of a hardship. He has to go a little bit, right now is the summertime, he wants to do a lot. And I'm like, well, you need a little job or you come to the shop or something. And eventually, I don't think he's going to hit rock bottom, but something will click, and that'll be like, okay, like it's my time to go. Cause I think a lot of times I try to push it on him, same thing with sports and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, football, let's go. Trainer. I got you a trainer. I'll get you this. I'll get you that. And he would be like, oh, can we go tomorrow? Oh, can we go tomorrow? I was like, you know what? I think I'm pushing it too much. So whenever he's ready, and this year was the year that he's ready, and he's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to go to SAC camp, football camp. He's there now. Then he goes to the gym. Then, he's like, hey, at 4 o'clock, we're going to go with the boys. So it's like things that the same thing. I think it all comes together, right? Where we want to push what we know, what we think is the right way to go. But he has to go through it. And then whenever he started seeing that his football buddies were passing him up, then he's like, maybe my dad was right. Maybe I should have been eating better. Maybe I should have been, stretching better or, doing stuff like that. So I think it all comes together. Like you said, marriage, family, life, business, everything.
And that's brilliant advice, Ray. And I appreciate you sharing that. Well, that's so relatable. And that what you just said right there is wisdom. It's experience. You've obviously embodied that. And it's not an easy thing to do, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. But you want him to come back. You want your son to come back and it's the moment where he asks you those questions. And then that's when you're like, yes, I'm so grateful that you came back and asked me those questions.
Right.
Now I'm here to empower you and challenge you to get to where you want to go. And that's a beautiful thing. And just for our listeners and audience, man, they can apply it in their own lives. And I challenge myself and just in our community as well to be able to do that and hold each other accountable to those higher standards and just having that belief, because we're at the end of the day, man, this, we're all in different seasons of life, different demographics, different age, different genetic. All these different, we are God's creatures. We are on our unique path. And that's why I keep telling myself. And so I try to meet people where they are. And that's essentially what you're doing with your son is meeting him where he is. And it's all in due time.
Right. Yes, sir.
Beautiful, man. So we talk a lot about not sacrificing health. I know you work out. You're a sharp looking dude. You show up, you're just glowing. You got the smile on your face and good looking dude. For those of our viewers that are on YouTube, if you're listening in audio, Ray's a strong dude. He probably do, hammer out at least 100 push-ups right now. So we talk a lot about not sacrificing health, relationships, or faith that alter business, of course. So how do you keep those areas a priority as you grow in building your businesses and life?
So to me, the biggest thing, and I learned this at a young age, faith 100% had to be number one. Yeah. Has it always been number one? Have I kind of steered away from it and then came back? Yes. But I think it's in my hardest times and even in my most successful times, God's always been there for me. So I think I've always learned, even when I was starting a business, even when I was stressful, I would pray. Even when we were starting to have success, I would pray. So prayer has been big for me. And to me, I tell people it doesn't have to be such a big thing. You just need 30 seconds of you alone time, pray on whatever it is. And something that I learned a few years ago is even pray for what's coming. Pray for what's coming because it's going to come as long as you put action behind it. So to me, that was one. Two was action. Like I said, I've been a person that I have to do, right? Like I said earlier, if I needed something done or if I wanted something, I had to do it myself, right? So it was like prayer wasn't just it. It was prayer, but now I got to go put action behind it, right? It was like, I would like this business to grow, but I need to work on it. I need to grind on it. I need to do what I need to do. And then the third thing was just my health, right? If I'm not healthy, if I'm not able to get up early, if I'm not able to stay healthy to provide for my family or provide for the businesses, then what's the point, right? Then, to me, it was those three, right? It was faith, action, and just health. Have I always been the most healthier? No, but I've always tried to be there. I think my biggest thing that I've always said is I'm not going to miss the gym, right? And we kind of talked about it like motivation, and motivation leaves, whether it's business, fitness, relationships, anything, it leaves. But to me, it's just staying constant, right? Like staying
Yeah.
constant, just showing up the next day, showing up the next day, whether it's business or just to the gym, you know. Sometimes I'm so tired, but I get to the gym, I walk my 10 minutes on the treadmill, and then I'm like, okay, well, okay, now the blood's flowing.
Yeah.
I'm here. Might as well get
Yeah.
it done. Right. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never, like many people say, you never leave the gym and say, oh, why did I come? You never leave the gym and say that, right? Regardless, even if you're tired and exhausted and
Yeah.
dripping, you say that. So to me, I think it's been those three that have really helped me. And of course, older, now that I'm 35, the older that I am now, it's been like faith is even stronger than it was at a younger age. And same thing,
Yeah.
like we've said, I have a lot of younger people in my around me, and I try to tell them that. But I think it's the same thing. They're like, "Oh, Ray, you're older. Of course, you're gonna say God." And they did. I'm like, "Okay, you know, I see
Yeah.
it already now. It's on you, and you'll eventually come around
That's right.
and see it." But yeah, I think those have been the
Was,
three things.
was there ever a season you'd mentioned earlier when you'd answering the question? Was there ever a season where you got out of alignment with those three things, with that balance, and what pulled you back into alignment?
I think my fitness, so real quick, when I didn't know my father, when my son was born, he was about 4 or 5 years old, right? Even younger, I knew health was a big thing, right? I got to be around because now I got a little human that I'm responsible for, right? So I need to be around. But I think the biggest thing was the main goal was to be around. And when I found my father, I knew he had passed away from a heart attack, and he had 2 or 3 heart attacks, and he had, you know, high blood pressure, and his father and his brothers. So I'm like, okay, so to me, health is now like key number one, right?
Yes.
Because, you know, it's
Yeah.
genetic or whatever, but I'm a strong believer and it's mind over matter, right? If I'm on
Yes.
it, maybe it was supposed to hit me at 50. But
Mm,
if I'm on it, I'm gonna push it to 60 now. Right. And if
yes.
I stay on it, I'm gonna push it to 70. Right.
Yeah.
So working out has never been an issue. I think like last 10 years, 11 years, maybe I've gone 8 days without hitting the gym, the most that I've
Same.
gone. You
Same.
know, so
Yeah.
at least that's it. As far as faith, yes, I think, you know, a lot of times I would get distracted. You know, I would get distracted with whatever it was that was going on in the world before marriage. You know, when I split up with my kid's mother, you know, things like that. But like in the back of the head, it was always there. It was always
Yeah.
there. You know, it was always talking to me like, "Hey, Ray, I'm right here. I'm right here. You're going through this, or you're having a hard time, or you're stressing, or you can't pay the bills, but I'm right here. I'm right here." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really been so off course, but I have been, but nothing
Yeah.
too crazy.
What would you say pulled you back into alignment? Anything
Pulled
in
me.
particular?
I think just listening to that voice, just
Mm,
listening to that
yeah.
voice and
Mhm.
understanding that I'm strong, I'm well-being, I'm whatever you want to call it, but without the presence of God helping me, and him walking next to me, and guiding me and telling me it don't matter how strong you are, or any of that, like it's just gonna be hard. So just understanding like, okay, Ray, it's not all on you. Come on, let's get back to what we know is the right way, to the word of God. Let's get back to putting him first. Let's get back to what we need to do to serve and help, and do all that. And so that's usually what pulls me back. It's like, Ray, you try to do it on your own. You're having some success, but that's not the
Yeah.
success you want to have, you know?
Oh
So
man, that's brilliant advice. That is not if we could pull a clip off that and put it on a reel, that is exactly the clip that I would want. Is it's not what success, because we think success is money. You know, we think success is selfishness, we
right,
think we're doing it all.
right,
And that was the biggest mindset shift and mistake that I had ever learned in my life and entrepreneur journey. Is it's not about me. I
right.
can only get as far as I did. And that, if we're being transparent, that is ego and pride talking.
Yes, 100%.
And that's what I'm hearing you say. And
Mhm.
then we have to be thinking outside of ourselves and the bigger picture, our creator. And right there, man, knowing that he is in our corner, man, there is so much untapped potential in here. It's like, what's next? What's
Right,
possible?
right.
And when you surround yourself with that kind of mindset and understanding, then man, the sky is really the limit when it comes down to that. So it's a beautiful place to be, man. I really
Yep,
appreciate
yep,
you
yep.
sharing that.
Yeah.
When living the dreams, we talk about a lot about designing the life that you want to live.
Right.
And I have so much conviction, so much authenticity behind this, because I'm a big believer in designing the life that you actually want to live without sacrificing the health, relationships, and faith, which is what we're talking about and what
Right.
we're all about. What does designing the life and living the dream for Ray really mean to you now, as you're a father, husband, and serial entrepreneur? What does that look like for you and mean?
So it's funny you say that, because that's the name. If I can, I'm not trying to plug it in or nothing, but that's the name of our podcast, right? It's Living the Dream. And what we try to bring people is the key component of that is just, I think we've been fed this idea, right? You go to school, you do this, or you need multiple streams of income, or this is,
Yes.
and we like to share and to tell people like, hey, it's not someone in New York that's just, oh, they got lucky and they started their business. It's not someone in LA, someone in Chicago. It's like there's people here in Conroe that are designing their lifestyle, that just made a decision. And it doesn't always have to be just business, right? Made a decision to chase their dream at whatever profession they have, right? So
Yes.
we try to tell people that, hey, you can do it here. It's local. So to us, what we try to share is that whatever it is that you like to do, if you like to play tennis all day, if you like to spend so much time with your family, if you like to, go be on the lake all day long, you can do that, right? You can do that. You have to just design it. So I think to me, it means, and like I tell people, is you live life on your terms, right? And what
Yes.
does that mean? That does mean you're going to have to put some work in, right? It's not just like all easy. You got to put a
For
little bit of
sure.
work in. But once you put that work in and you have what you need, anything's possible, right? So to us, is like finding that small, and I don't like to use the word goal, because I feel like it's once you get there, then what, right? But it's finding those small things that you want to get to have that. And it can be the basic thing. You want to spend more time at home, what does that cost? And then just get to that number. And then there you got it, right?
Yeah.
You wanna have that extra boat. Okay, what does that look like? Right. So I'm a big believer, instead of saving a penny, make a nickel. Right. So it's like design it by your terms. And to me, I feel like I'm living the dream right now. Right. I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream on my terms.
Amen, brother.
I'm there with my kids. I'm playing, pickleball right now. I'm like fully throttle on pickleball. Before pickleball, I was doing jujitsu hardcore. I'm living it on my terms. And like I said earlier, at where we're at now, a few thousand or less thousand or this or that, it's not going to change our lifestyle. We're doing what we're doing. We're taking 3 or 4 trips a year. That's good. That's good enough for us, right? A lot of times, like, but don't you want more? Don't you want, like, a Porsche 911? Don't you want, like, yeah, that would be nice, but I'm good right now. This is good.
It's not going
This
to
is good.
fulfill you.
Right. This is fulfilling me, right? Like, this is fulfilling me, talking to people, younger people that come in and ask me questions and things like that on what I can share, what I can help. And the biggest thing too is just like also letting the Hispanic community know, like, hey, we can do it too. We can do it too. Thing that helped me too when I was younger, and I was going to bring it up earlier, was the why not, right? The why not is a big thing to me.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna go ahead and share this. So sometimes in the Hispanic community, people say like, "Oh, well, you want to be like, I don't know, I can say it like the gringos,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to
Course.
be like, why not? Why don't you want a nice house in the suburbs? Why don't you want to have life insurance? Why don't you want to have a savings and investments? Why not? What's wrong with that? We can still keep our culture. We can still do some of that and have some of that. So to me, it was the why not, right? It's like, why can't I live the dream? Why can't I have these things too? So, and that's what I try to tell a lot of the younger people, is like, hey, it's cool, keep your heritage, keep all that, but why don't you want more? You're here. You have full advantage of everything. We have the same opportunities that everybody has, right? So I might have gone off course there, but to me, the why not is a big thing.
Not at all, man. You hit the nail right on the head. And you embody that too, Ray. Just in the short period of time that I've met you and you've shown up, we've shaken hands, you've plugged yourself in, and we're getting to know each other. I can feel that. And I know our viewers and audience and listeners can feel that as well. Because when you speak, you are embodying that. You're actually living that. And that's what we're all about is at Level Up and Live, and designing the life that you want to live. And of course, is it all rainbows and sunshines? Absolutely not. But it's who we're becoming in this journey.
Right.
And you are a role model for for your peers and for your family and for your community. And you're actually doing the work behind the scenes that you actually talk about on your podcast and on this podcast, and living that every moment. However, we know that there are moments when things get hard, from social media to, people talking. It always looks like, man, they're super successful. That overnight success, right? That's taken decades to get to where we are today.
Man.
So when those things get hard, maybe even hopeless for you, what mindset shifts or decisions helped you push through those tough times or during those tough times?
So I think during those tough times, and one of the biggest one happened during COVID, is honestly, and people might be like, oh, he just keeps bringing it up, but it's true. God helped us get through it. And me not putting myself first We had one store when that happened, right? And it was either I'm gonna let go of the employees and I'm gonna stay at the store, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna figure something out.
Mm.
And me being who I am is like, hey guys, you guys have a job here. I'm gonna keep you as long as I can. And I went to
Wow.
Kroger and I started working Kroger night shift. And then
Really?
yeah. And people would be
Wow.
like, why, Ray? You have a store? I'm like, okay, it's a little more than that, right? So sometimes
Yeah.
I've also learned sometimes it might come off the wrong way, but sometimes people are not gonna understand you. People are
Yeah.
not gonna understand that, right? They're just
That's
like
right.
your store. You should be fine. You should be okay. Fire them. Like let them go. You like it's okay. My family, we've talked about it. I'm gonna work nights. I'm gonna keep the store. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. But there's a time where I had a partnership, right? So I had one store, and I partnered with somebody, and we were building two more stores. COVID hit. There was little money issues, this and that, right? And
Yeah.
I was stressing. Like my hair
Yeah.
was falling in certain spots. I was stressing, and that's
Yeah.
when the attorney was like, "Hey, you're going through a divorce." Pretty
Mm.
much like, hey,
Yes.
this is mine, that's his. I kid you not, I was like, hey, talk to my wife. I was like, hey, I'm ready to go back to Subway if I have to. I'm ready to go
Yeah.
flip sandwiches. Like this is too
Wow.
much, right? So
Yeah.
I put it in God's hands, and anything that we go through right now, we're going through some stuff with the laws and stuff like that. I put it in God's
Yeah.
hands, and I'm just very positive, and I'm just very like, hey, whatever needs to happen, I'll shift at that time. So during
Yeah.
that time, said, hey God, I broke down. I was like, if this is meant to be for me, hey, I'm ready, and if it's not, I'm also ready. I'm whichever way it needs to go. But again, just keeping that core idea of it's not just me, right? Because if it
Yeah.
was me, I would have fought tooth and nail for those stores. I would have,
Yes.
I would have put all my money. Hey, you know what? Take
Yep.
this and take that. But it was like,
Yeah.
hey, if he wants to fight for him, you know what? Give him the stores. He can have
Yes.
the stores. He can have the money. He can have all that. We'll figure it out. I kid you not, Sean.
Wow.
We moved locations because that was part of the agreement. I was down the road.
Yeah.
We doubled in sales in the first month. I
Let's
kid you not.
go.
And to me
Oh, Holy
that
Spirit, man.
yeah,
That's
and to
all.
me that my faith was already like to the top, and it just went like
Yeah.
just like I broke the roof, and it just kept
Yes.
going. And from then, like, I get goosebumps. From then, I told my wife like, hey, we believe, and
Yeah.
we do we do all that we should be doing, but now we need to do more because he
Wow.
fulfilled us.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
kid you not, from then I was like, I'm not missing a tide. We've gone through some downs still too. We're not missing
Yeah.
a tide. If anybody
Mhm.
needs help, we're gonna help them, regardless of what he needs to be. And
Mm.
and since 2001 and forward, we haven't missed a tide. We haven't. And there's been times when I'm like, God, I just got these few hundred. Like, all right,
Yeah.
God. Like it hurts me a little. It still hurts me a little bit, right? But I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like I said what I said, and he was there, and here you go. I'll figure it out later. Payrolls due or whatever during that, like 2002 got a little tough again. But I was like, we got to keep our promises because he kept his promise. So to
Wow.
answer your question, hard times, stick to it.
Yeah.
Stick to faith. Stick to what I know. Stick to going to the gym to make sure my mind's right.
Yes.
Stick to it. Stick to it.
Man, you're an incredible human being. Just in this
Uh,
short 30 or 40 minutes, dude.
just
I appreciate you just pouring into us. That right there, I resonate. And I know our listeners and audience, if that didn't hit, then go back and listen to that again, because what you just said is pure gold and brilliant wisdom, and something that has taken years and decades for us to learn and embody. And just hearing you say that, man, is an inspiration to me. And I want to acknowledge you for sharing that and having the vulnerability and the courage to say that. And I know it's not easy. I know it's challenging. And I know we're on a podcast today, but you can hear it in your voice that you're authentic and you're transparent behind that. And you go to faith, you go to God, and you have that prayer time. And I'm a big believer in God's rejection is God's protection. I typically say that in my
I like that.
community and my friends and family. And God's not going to give you anything that you can't handle. And clearly, in the time, it's tough, right? Our listeners and
Dude.
audience may be going through something right now, like we've all been through. And maybe it's the pain cave. Maybe it's in health. Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's in your relationship, your marriage, your spouse, or maybe it's even you're having struggles with spirituality and God. But those are the times where sometimes our blind spots we can't see in the here and the now. But that's where the faith has to kick in. And that's what I'm hearing you say in those tough times. You know what? I don't have the answers. If I did have the answers, the pride and ego would kick in. And I'm going to sit here and do everything and pour, all my money into it, all my energy, all my vitality and bliss. But that's not what our creator wants us to do. And man, you sharing that, dude, I really appreciate you opening up and being transparent behind that, because I think we all need to hear it.
Right, right, right. You know, you said that, and what came to mind is like I tell people, it's I don't know if it's a meme or what it is, but it's like some guy stranded in the ocean, right? And
Mm.
a boat comes, and the guy's like, "No, no, it's fine. God's gonna help me." And then a bigger boat comes. He's like, "No, I don't need help. God's gonna help me." And then a ship comes, like, "Yeah, I don't need help. God's gonna help me. I've been praying." And then he passes away. He's like, "God, what happened?" He's like, "I sent you 3 boats. You just weren't taking them." Right? Like it's there. Like
Yes,
grab it,
there.
take on to it, do it. Like
Yep.
you pray and all that, but sometimes whether it's health or anything like that, like your tools are
Yeah.
here, things are
Yes.
here. Like it falls on you.
And,
I
and
think
that
sometimes.
and that boat in that boat could be somebody like a mentor or a coach or a
Right,
friend soliciting advice
right,
or a doctor, giving you that breaking that news to you.
right,
And those little simple things is what I'm hearing you say is we have to be open and acceptable to listening and heeding that advice,
correct,
and filtering it in our own lives,
correct,
because that
correct.
might be God speaking through them to connect with them. And I feel like that's what we've done on the podcast today, man. So dude, as we wrap things up, I wanted to make sure I got this question in before I can't believe we're already at 40 minutes in this bad boy.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone listening to right now who feels stuck, isolated, or even on the edge of burnout?
I would say definitely faith. You have to get to the word. That's one. And a second thing, I would say if you're going through a hard time in business or whatever, find someone or a group of people that might have what you want or what you would
Mm.
like or the marriage that you want, and tap into them. I think
Yes.
that's the biggest thing that I've learned, right? And when I learned this, it
Agree.
was a little different, right? When I learned it, I was younger. It was like you want somebody you want a Lamborghini, find somebody that has a Lamborghini and go do what they're doing, right? As I'm older, it's more than that, right? It's more than that. It's just like right now we're doing a lot of stuff with community church, and I see couples and I see other people, and I'm like, hey, like let's hang out with them. They're doing something right. They're doing let's that energy is just overflowing. Let's go
Yep.
that way, right? So same thing that I tell anybody that's going through hard times, reach out to people, find someone that's going through it, someone that's in the same industry. I think a lot of times people think that people are going to see them as competition. We're talking business, but a lot of times they're not. A lot of times you can ask them, "Hey, I'm going through this. How did you go through it? What'd you do? During payroll or during whatever it is that you got going on." Same thing with marriage. As men, sometimes it's hard for us to be vulnerable. Like, "Hey, bro,
Yes.
me and my wife just been fighting. It's just been a little stressful, bro. I'm trying to do what I can." And someone can tell you something different. That's like, "Oh, dude, I went through it a few years ago. And look at us now." What? You went through
Yes.
that? Like, yeah, dude. Like, come on, let me tell you. Come here, look, listen to this. But like we said earlier, but be able to listen. You have to be
Yes.
able to listen, right? And be able to come down and say, "Hey, it's hard. It's tough right now. I'm gonna listen to the word of God. I'm gonna listen to John. I'm gonna listen to Stephanie. I'm gonna listen to these people."
Yep.
And then I'm gonna start putting a little action behind what they're telling me. So
Yes.
I think that.
Man, that's absolutely brilliant advice. What I'm hearing you say is not only plugging yourself in, be willing to be vulnerable yourself, but also seeking that advice or counsel or mentorship from somebody that's where you want to be. You're not going to go to Elon Musk for marriage advice
Right, right.
or Tom Brady for
Definitely.
marriage, right?
Whoa,
You
whoa,
maybe
whoa.
you go
Hey,
to
Tom
business.
Brady. Hey. Leave Tom Brady alone, man. Yeah.
Oh,
You
for
know,
another episode. For
right,
another
right, right,
episode.
right. No, yeah, but that's exactly right. Just find
Yeah.
someone and plug into them. And I can talk to a wall, but kind of like what I'm doing now with the groups right now, I'm just listening, right? I'm just
Yes.
listening. I'm just listening. And it's
Yes.
the same thing. Just get there and just listen. You don't have to go in there and be like, tell them, "Oh, me and my wife are going through this." Just listen first and just get some of that, whatever it
Yeah.
is that you're going through. Listen.
That's a coaching skill too for our listeners and audience. That's if you're a leader, emerging leader, or business owner, what Ray just shared right there, right now, listening is one of the number one skill sets for a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And that is valuable advice right there.
Right.
If we can listen, be active, listen, and you have to be intentional about it.
Right.
Because we all as human beings want to sit here and talk about ourselves, but the ones that listen controls the conversation.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome, man. Well, we're wrapping things up, brother. Right before we do, in closing, I want to make sure that our community supports you. Really appreciate you being on the podcast today and just saying yes. I want to acknowledge you and you showing up your authentic self today, because that's what we're all about. That's the voice at Level Up and Live and designing the life that you want to live. You have been nothing but valuable today, man. Your advice is super relatable. So I really appreciate you spending 60 minutes with on the podcast today, Ray.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, man. I
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
man.
It was fun.
With that being said, brother, how can our listeners, audience, and viewers at Level Up and Live, and how can our community support you, man?
By support me, I mean, we're in the Conroe area, but I mean, anybody going through hard times, you can support me by allowing me to support you, right? So anybody going through hard times, I'm here. We're in Conroe area, right by the post office. Come in and just chat. You don't have to buy nothing. You don't have to do any of that. Just come in, just share the word, share this podcast, let people hear this, and that's more than enough for me.
Love that. And we'll also have Ray's, if he's got his website, we'll have that in the show notes as well, just so you can stay connected with Ray, follow him on his socials. And like you said, we're here locally in Montgomery County. A lot of our 99.9% of our listeners are local emerging leaders. So they need to stop in, talk to this young man. He's doing it right. He's definitely somebody that you want to learn from. I'm learning from Ray. So Ray, appreciate your inspiration today.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks again for being real, pouring into the community today. Your story is obviously a reminder that success isn't just about what we build in the external forces. It's about who we become along the way. So if you're listening and you're ready to surround yourself with other purpose-driven entrepreneurs like Ray, then plug in. Your next level is waiting, but it won't happen alone in isolation. Let's keep leveling up and living our best life. Thanks again, Ray.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Thanks.